I'm sure we've all felt this moment, these kind of periods of training where you feel like you're hitting the nail on the head. It doesn't happen often. A lot of times we're kind of wandering around through the world of exercise selection and training and exploration. And, everything kind of feels all right when you get a pump. But there's a few occasions where you actually feel like you're hitting the nail on the head. And what I mean by that is that you are addressing exactly what you need. Everything improves something. But it's when you hit that particular angle, that particular exercise that you exactly need. I had one of those moments today. Today I dedicated a fair chunk of time of training to work on overhead squats. Overhead squats are simple looking, right? You've got the bar overhead and you're going through the squatting motion. But what the eye doesn't see is what you are feeling. And what you're feeling in that position is this internal battle to keep an upright posture, because every little degree of leaning forward, you pay huge fees. You simply cannot afford to do any of that. And so my intuition, my nature is to always lean over when there's weight to be moved. I like to lean over whatever the musculature involved in that lean. I like that. That's where my power is. That's where my power lives. And that I want to use it, right? The body's always looking for a path of least resistance. With the bar overhead, it's basically, I want to say, front squats on steroids, in the sense that you can't afford at all for leaning forward because you pay huge prices. And now I squat with a lean. But with the front squat, you can afford to lean somewhat. It's just the way the thing is. But when the bar is overhead, you have such little power over influencing their bar backwards that you are so leveragely, that's not even a word, you're so disadvantaged in the leverage sense that you can't use your deltoids to offset that weight. So what your bottom dollar should be betting on is just keeping that bar in the middle position and not having to influence that bar backwards. Just stack that weight over the midfoot and just move in that line. For me, that's extremely difficult. Very, very difficult. And it's not because of quad weakness or whatever. It's just the whole systemic effort in keeping that bar over midfoot. So today, I went to the gym again. I'm going to try. It's very hard to say I will, but I'm going to try and do the GHD back raises every other day when time permits. Today, I woke up from a night shift and had a bit of time, so I went to the gym and spent 10 sets of 20 with the GHD, which is a freaking amazing feeling. I can't get over it. I'm still sore from the previous day, but I wanted to do it again. After I did that, I went and I started working on the overhead squats. Initially, I did 5 sets of 5, and then I did another 5 sets of 10. That lit me up in places that I don't even know what's going on. I feel like the rhomboids are lit up, the traps are lit up, my neck is lit up, the shoulders, rear, middle shoulders, anterior shoulders. I feel like I've been in a freaking wrestling match, like somebody's trying to pull my head down. It's extremely positive feeling to do overhead squats. And now there is no weight on the bar. There is no weight on the bar. I'm literally doing a day one of somebody trying to learn how to overhead squat, somebody trying to learn how to snatch. Probably maybe day 7 or day 8 or something like that. I don't know. I think originally what people think is that you work with the broomstick when you're getting into Olympic weightlifting. But anyway, I'm using no weight, and that exercise with no weight on the bar murdered me. When I got to the front squat after all of those overhead squats, it felt easy until about 3 plates, and then I started feeling the fatigue which the overhead squats left behind, which is that upper back. I can't. Everything's fried. Got to 180, I could not maintain that upper back posture. All of that muscles which were trying to keep that upper back straight for the overhead squat, were completely exhausted, and I just could not support 180 even on the front rack, and I dropped it. But I walked away from that and I felt positive in the sense of I have found such a glaring weakness, such an exercise which I'm so weak that there's no weight on the bar. So when you feel like you hit the nail on the head is when you find an exercise which you are complete beginner at, but will have huge dividends down the track. You know, when you're looking for exercises, you will find lots of different, ways to perform certain movements and whatnot. And a lot of these movements will carry over. For example, like, I've got a pretty good squat, right? So my lunges are going to be pretty good as well. Like I remember when I started lunging, within a week or so, I could lunge something like 120 kilos off one leg, right? Like a split squat. And I thought to myself, okay, so I'm not a complete beginner. So whatever the squat was training is carrying over to the lunge as well, to the split squat. So, okay, I can push that to 3 plates and then maybe 160 kilos. And I remember looking into the whole thing about how the hell do you split squat more than half of your squat? But apparently that's what happens. The nervous system works in mysterious ways. So then I thought to myself, well, I'm dealing with some extremely heavy weights for this split squat. So maybe it's not a weakness. Maybe that particular motion is not a weakness. But with overhead squats, I'm using no weight on the bar and it is a fight. So that tells me it's probably worth your time to spend a lot of time with this, because you are going to make huge gains very, very quickly to go from a freaking empty bar to 20 kilos, to 40 kilos on the bar, to maybe even 60 kilos on the bar. And if you improve that lift by 3 times what you're starting off with, there's no way you're not going to improve all the other stuff. That's going to carry over because you found a glaring weakness, which is very specific to what you're trying to improve in the first place, which is the squat. Whether it be back squat, a high bar squat, or a front squat. So very, very exciting when you find something like this where you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's just weightless movement, which is killing you. Same thing can be said to the GHD back raise, right? I'm doing, I did today 10 sets of 20, but I'm doing a set of 20 with body weight. And I'm getting lit up, absolutely lit up with a freaking exercise, which is no weight. So that's another thing that tells you that this is a very, very positive exercise. Anytime you can do an exercise that doesn't require you to load a huge amount of weight and you get a huge training effect, that is very, very positive, because it allows you to come back and hit it again. Like for instance, like I'm lit up right now in terms of my upper back musculature. Like I can barely freaking hold my arms up. Very, very fatigued. But I know tomorrow morning I'll probably be able to do again an empty bar. Why? Because it's an empty bar. There's no axial loading there. It's just position training. It's little position training. It's technique training. So these muscles which are killing me are what you would call postural muscles. They're not big movers. So this exercise, the overhead squat, is addressing something which is essentially a postural weakness rather than a global, prime mover weakness, like the glutes are lacking, or the quads are lacking, or the hamstrings are lacking, or the erectors, or something like that. No, this movement is attacking you technically. It's attacking you in a sense of, can you move through this position in this sequence? So it's asking you to fire all the other muscles together in a sequence, in a position. So it's kind of like a mobility, a flexibility technique type of thing. And once you master that position, when you go back to a less stressful postural position, you're going to be laughing. For instance, when you go to the back squat or when you go to the front squat, it's going to be a laugh, because those postural muscles have been targeted. And now when they go to a more favorable position, when the bar's resting on your shoulders or your front rack, you're going to be like, this is a joke. This is great. And this is where you can kind of manipulate training in a way where it's kind of like you don't have to stick your head through a wall every single day. You can find positions which you're weak at, which will carry over. And that's that feeling of, my God, I feel like I've hit the nail on the head with this exercise. It's that aha moment. It's that I'm onto something moment. It's such a powerful thing. And you don't find these types of exercises that often. Like for instance, right now I'm looking at the overhead squat and I'm like picturing to myself, what would happen if I got my overhead squat to 100 kilos? Now that to me seems impossible right now, because I'm so posturally inadequate in terms of those muscles to support that weight overhead. But I'm just picturing, okay, let's fantasize a little bit and think, wow, when I get to 100 kilos overhead squat, how is the front squat going to feel with 180? The answer to that has to be better. It just simply has to feel better when you master such a difficult position like an overhead squat, it has to feel freaking amazing. And so, you know, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try and work it, even though right now it's limiting my front squat ability. When I hit the overhead squat and I go to the front squat, you know, I feel fatigued. I feel like the postural muscles are really getting taxed. But that's a good thing, because you know that those two things are somehow correlated. They're correlated in the sense that when I do this, it affects this. There's a link. If you did something and then you do another thing and those two things are unaffected, you have to think to yourself, maybe those two things are not related at all, and improving in this one might not even carry over in that one. It's hard to wrap your head around some of these things, because there's so many different things, right? Like, I know exercises that I've done in the past, like for instance the Hindu squat. I've tried with the Hindu squat, do 10 sets of freaking 20, 10 sets of 30, and then I go to the front squat and it feels better. Now, what's going on there? I'm using the quads in the Hindu squats a lot. So how is that carrying over to the front squat? In the sense that it's kind of like it's amplifying the effect. In that sense, I feel like that particular scenario is more so about activation. You put the quads on the map, which allows you to front squat a bit better. Obviously, if you took that and you loaded the Hindu squat, like I never loaded it, but if you loaded the Hindu squat, I don't know, to 60 kilos to 100 kilos, you're probably very, very challenged with the front squat. But it's funny how all those things work, right? The correlation between exercises, activation exercises, hypertrophy exercises, strength exercises, like all of these things matter when you're constructing a program and you're constructing a plan of attack. So, you know, moving forward, you could probably say that next time I do this routine, okay, go to the gym in 2 days time. Start off with the GHD like you did today. Go and do front squats first, max out to 180, and then do your overhead squats, because you know the overhead squats are going to limit your front squat. So get the most out of your front squat and then get the most out of the overhead squat. And you know the overhead squat is going to carry over to the front squat because we've already tried it today. It's limiting your ability to front squat. So this is just one way you can manipulate your decisions, your exercise selections. And you know, there's a million and one different exercises you can do, but there's certain things which literally hit the nail on the head. And those things should not be forgotten. Those things should be highlighted in your training programs. You should go, okay, this is interesting. Whatever is happening here is challenging me here. So the path of least resistance is to spend more time with the overhead squat, not the front squat. Because the front squat, you're dealing with 160, 180 kilos. You know, your max is 185. Do you want to put your system through that much turmoil to get a little bit of, you know, upper back stimulation with a huge cost? Whereas over here, you're using unbelievably light weights in a position which is taxing the living hell out of the upper back with next to no cost. There's no cost there. So this is something that, you know, always plays on my mind of, you know, do I need to die every single day I train? No. Manipulate positions, manipulate exercises to get what you need out of it. Appreciate you guys like always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.